Welcome, my beautiful soul sisters, to Yoga Bliss with Shelly. I took a really big hiatus from this podcast, but I am grateful to be here showing up for a brand new episode. It is rolling up on the holidays. Is that really happening next week? That is nuts that Thanksgiving in America is here. And for all of the humans involved, we know that the holidays can bring up all of this tumultuous pain of our past because family, right? We get to and sometimes have to see and be around family members that we're like, oh, I don't want to be around that person, or people that you're not going to spend every day with. And so how can you really tap in and protect yourself, protect your energy, and also connect with other people for this holiday season? That's interesting, right? So we know it's coming up, and maybe it's time to start thinking. I was just thinking, I didn't even talk to my sisters. We usually do Thanksgiving with my sisters. My husband is actually taking the boys to Wisconsin to go hunting. And this is a whole nother episode, but we're having a really hard time in our marriage. We're coming up on our 20th anniversary, and it's very vulnerable and it's hard. And I felt like I was like so decided on what I wanted to do. And then my sister comes around, who is amazing and like a guardian angel of mine. And I'm so grateful for everything that she brings into my life, that now I'm like, okay, I need to really open my eyes and be open to signs and really figuring out what is the best and highest good for my family. Because in my family, this time of year, for some reason, my husband always gets extra cranky. He just does not really like the holiday season, and I am the opposite. I love the holidays. I already have our tree set up. We usually take down our Halloween decorations and we put up our tree. And then we put up all of our decorations, and we have our elf on the shelf, which we were actually reading our book. Have you read the Elf on the Shelf book? If you haven't and you are a mama, you'll need to get the Elf on the Shelf. It's so wonderful. I love the Elf on the Shelf. It's like this really fun holiday tradition. And yeah, for my husband, it's not. And so we get really in this like crumpety, gross energy, and he's getting ready to go out of town with my boys tomorrow. I'm really grateful for that. I'm feeling really excited to have that space, and I'm actually going to do like 2 big recording days for Yoga Bliss, and I have some really amazing classes that I have written out, and it's going to be nice because I don't have to take kids to school and then set up all of my set to record and then stop and go pick the kids up and make the dinners and all the things, even though I will have my daughter. But I'm really excited. It's going to be a really fun time. So with that said, what can you look forward to this holiday season? What can you look forward to? Like, there are fun things. So in my family, so it's me and my sisters, and sometimes my one sister, Mimi, her in-laws come, and sometimes they don't. So this year they're not coming. I don't know if her sister-in-law is. And sometimes we're really open to just allowing free flowers, people to come in who just need a place to come, and they're more than welcome. And we make an overabundance of food because it's me and my sisters. When we grew up, we were really poor. We lived on all the welfare, all the things. We always had food stamps. And yeah, we ate a lot of ramen and casseroles, and we just didn't have, it always just felt like lack. It didn't feel like there was enough. So we had a very scarcity mindset. Have you ever heard of that? Scarcity mindset is those feelings of, oh my gosh, there's never enough. I'm always running out of this. Like, maybe you're afraid for your life. If you're afraid for paying your rent, if you're afraid that you're not going to have enough money for groceries or blah, 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 that's that scarcity mindset, which most of us grow up on. And this was so really awesome. I actually listened to Rachel podcast's episode this morning, and it was so inspiring. And she was talking about that scarcity mindset versus the abundant mindset. And what does the abundant mindset mean, as I'm shifting gears for my Thanksgiving story? Because this is me. Welcome to Yoga Bliss with Shelly. And this is how I think. I'm like, boom, so many big ideas. So an abundant mindset, like your abundant mindset, doesn't only have to do with your wealth. It has to do with your health, how you're feeling abundantly happy or how you're feeling not happy, or how you're feeling abundant in your relationships, abundant in your joy, abundant in the food that's in your refrigerator. So even if maybe, like, it's always so funny. So my one sister, Jenny, she overcompensates for food. Since when we were kids, we didn't have enough and we would scavenge food and eat weird things. And sometimes there was cans, like a few cans in the cabinets. It was like the Grinch where you're taking the last crumb out, and we would always have hot lunches. So my sister always has so much food. And when she has so much food and overabundance of food that when she thinks she's running low, it's like when I go shopping and spend like $400 to $500. And I'm not kidding. Like, that's how it feels like to me. And so it's interesting because so she went from that scarcity mindset and just totally shifted it to like, we are always abundant in food. And she is, and she makes sure that her kids always have more than enough food. And I do the same thing, but in a different way. I definitely always make sure there's enough food. And it's so funny because when my kids will be like, Mom, we have nothing to eat. And I'm like, you don't really understand what it means to not have anything to eat. Because when you really don't have anything to eat, like, there's really nothing to eat, but you just have something that maybe, like in our house, you don't have like the quick, like you can't get chips or eat your granola bar. Like, you actually have to make the food, right? Do your kids do that ever? All the time. My kids do that all the time. I'm like, you're just looking for something that's just like a snacking thing that you really don't need, that because you're going to eat a delicious homemade meal like 6 nights a week. And I take Fridays off, I will say. I do Friday pizza night and Caesar salad night because it's my one night where I'm like, I'm taking it off and this feels good. So back to that abundant mindset. So when you think of it, you kind of think of it like, I think of it like with my sister's 9 food. So we grew up with that scarcity. Like, if you're watching this on video, I see this shelf here, which to me, sometimes I look at an empty shelf and I'm like, what can I put in this shelf? And then up here, I have all these books, and it's like, your scarcity is like, oh my gosh, there's not enough. Like, you could look at this bookshelf and think, oh my gosh, there's nothing there. You need to fill it up. Or you could look at that shelf and think of, wow, that just creates some space to make some room for something to be open. Isn't that interesting? Like, that perspective that we can have. And so I feel like that first step of like, when we're thinking of that scarcity and that abundant mindset is making that shift. And it's making that shift in your brain, or when you can notice when you're thinking, oh my gosh, my rent is 2 days late, my mortgage, we're blah, 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 short, or when you go to pay your mortgage, or you go to pay your rent, or you go to pay your car payment, and you're getting that like tight feeling in your stomach, like, oh, like almost like that buyer's remorse feeling. So notice when that's happening and then make that shift, and you could just say, I'm so freaking grateful. I'm so grateful that I have this awesome car and that I can pay this money. I'm so freaking grateful that I have this beautiful home that shelters and houses my kids and like allows me to make food and communicate with my family, and like it allows creativity, it allows space for us to slumber and sleep and rest. And it's making that shift in that mindset. And so I'm thinking of kind of tying this all into Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving dinner is coming. And when you think of Thanksgiving, like in America, it is our huge holiday. And it is such this abundant holiday. But you do hear of like families who don't get to have Thanksgiving and that don't have the meals. And I think of Tony Robbins, and he has such this beautiful story. Like, when he was growing up, like he said, we would eat on Thanksgiving, but it would be like crackers and cheese. And one time he had someone who came to his house, and he had a really abusive, angry stepdad. And this guy came to their house on Thanksgiving with 2 bags of groceries, and it actually like makes me want to tear up, and brought the groceries to the house. And when Tony was a little boy, he like ran and he was like, Dad, oh my gosh, someone's here and they have all this food. And the dad gets in the door. He's like, what do you want? What? We don't want your charity. And then the dad goes to slam the door, and Tony's dad, it was his stepdad because he had many stepdads, went to slam the door. But the other guy with the food in his hands stuck his foot in the door. And he said, don't let your ego get in the way of taking care of your kids. And then after that, like, Tony was just like, he felt overwhelmed with joy with food. And now he just gives like so many meals to people. And I was even thinking of that. It's like, how can we give to people? Because part of that abundant mindset is when you allow yourself permission to be grateful and to give that it just opens up this like portal, this open energy to keep flowing. And I was thinking, my son Jack was telling me that there was this mom and this daughter in his classroom, which to me, it's like such the sign that I just need to figure out how I can do this. And his friend was saying how they only have $30 and that they don't have enough money for their food. And it just, oh, it like triggered me and made me so sad. And I was thinking in my mind, okay, should I give them money? Should I buy them food? What could I do? And then I was overthinking it, and then I like lost it. And so when you get those hits of like, how can you help someone? And maybe it's not financially, maybe it's just like lending an ear and listening to someone and holding space for someone. Or maybe it is just inviting someone over for Thanksgiving. And just to let you know, when I'm recording, I just saw 1111, which is such a spiritual number for me. It tells me I'm on the right path. So keep aware and open to those abundant signs that are around you and always supporting you. Okay, shifting back, Shelly Bond. How can you be open to giving? How can you be open to giving this time of year? Because that's what it is. It's called Thanksgiving. And I feel like we are so trained in our culture to just like take. I want. Let's consume. And it's so interesting because I think of when my sisters and we get together for our big family dinner. And so it's me, my family. So there's 5 of us, my sister Jenny's family, 6 of them, my sister Mimi's family, 4 of them. And then sometimes my sister Melissa comes with her husband and her daughter, but sometimes they don't. So it just depends. And I mean, that's a lot of people. And then sometimes we'll add in like my sister's in-laws and then my sister's sister-in-law and her family, and they have a family of 4, and it's big. And it's so amazing because we always have an overabundance of food. Like we are just overdoers because when we were kids, we had that scarcity mindset. So now it's interesting that all of us, we've just shifted, and it's like we each have like big jobs that we do for Thanksgiving. So I always make the pies. And so for all of those people, I usually make 6 pies, and then my sister usually makes 2. And so it depends. Junie and I were just talking, my daughter, about what pies I was going to make this year. So I'm like, okay, I usually do 2 pecan pies, and then I do 2 pumpkin pies. But usually those get eaten so fast. So I'm like, maybe I should make 3 and 3, and then apple pies. That was the thing, is last year, apple pie was like a huge hit, and there wasn't enough. And it was this awesome recipe that I got from one of my old clients, Mary Kay. I love her. I used to color her hair. She was like this ginger, and she was this amazing woman. And she actually had this condition where she was losing her vocal cords, and when she talked, it was like this. And I did her hair for about 3 years. And by the end of me doing her hair, there was some treatment where they were doing like cortisone injections or some sort of injections where she had to get like, not a tracheotomy, but where they go down your throat and they would shoot this stuff into her vocal cords. And then she was able to speak clearly. And it was like freaking beautiful. I like did her daughter's hair for her wedding. It was a wonderful thing. I love her. But she gave me these recipes that I do every year. And one of them is I make this carrot bacon bisque soup, and it's Mary Kay's like signature dish. And it's funny because I just have the recipe memorized, and I have this old giant pot. It's like in between a crock pot and like an oven. It like goes up in degrees, and I use it once a year. We got this on our wedding day from this woman that I don't even know anymore. Rex and I did, and we use it only on Thanksgiving. And I save this pot, and I make this carrot bacon bisque, and it's like 2 bags. I always over make it, and then we end up wasting it because this is like the overabundance of food mindset that we have. Like I do 2 bags of carrots, usually 1 pan of bacon, and I don't eat bacon. So then I make a separate, I don't eat meat. So I just make a separate pot for the vegetarian, and then bacon, and then vegetable broth. Do I do beef broth? I can think. And then sauteed onions, bay leaves, cream, lots of butter, but there's lots of, I use bacon grease too in it. And then cream, but I usually do dairy free because most of my family is dairy free, and I'm dairy free. My one sister Jenny's family is not, but I am. So I usually do some coconut milk. And then you steam the carrots, you steam up the carrots, and then you saute the onions separately, and then you just kind of add everything in, and then you add the cream and the butter and the chicken stock or whatever vegetable beef stock that you want, and then you use the immersion blender, and then you just simmer it for like hours. And I usually make that soup. And then this other recipe that Mary Kay taught me, which is beautiful because it's grain-free, it's gluten-free, and it's not dairy-free, which we did have one woman who is dairy-free. So I told her, I remember that I needed to do this with coconut milk, coconut oil. So it's just pecans in butter, and you just like immersion blend it literally, and you chop up the pecans, immersion blend, or what is that thing called? This, you know what I'm talking about. The mixer, like a pureer, not pureer. Why can't I think of the word, Shelley? Let it come to you. It's a chopper. It chops up things. And that's all you do. It's those 2 ingredients. And you could add a little sugar. I usually don't. I just do those 2 ingredients. Sometimes I'll put a little cinnamon. And then you take the pecan and the butter that's all like mixed together, and it's like really fine and granularly. And then you take your pie tins, and then you obviously butter those up. If you have someone who is completely dairy-free, you can do coconut oil. And then you press it in the pan all the way around. And oh my gosh, it is like better than graham cracker crust. And I remember like so many people who like eat gluten, because I don't eat gluten. Sometimes I do, very rarely. But people who are gluten-free like were really hesitant on this crust and not wanting to eat it. But it is so good. It's like better than a graham cracker crust. So I usually do like with my 6 pies, which I'm like rethinking. I'm like, I need to make 3 apple pies this year, because last year everyone loved the apple pie. And like pecan pie usually gets eaten, but it's not the best. But you don't want to do the pecan. I have done the pecan pie with the pecan crust, but it's almost like a lot of pecans. And I usually do these lovely like gluten-free crusts that I just get the frozen ones. So sorry for the extra homemade mamas out there. You're amazing if you do that. But I found this like gluten-free crust because it takes me like all day to make these pies. Like I make these 6 pies, and it's like this very strategic process. And I do these like the gluten-free crust, and I do the grain-free crust, and they're all the crust. And then I'm usually in charge of mashed potatoes, and I usually do about 9 pounds of mashed potatoes, which I always feel like, oh my gosh, this is so much. And I pre-make all the pies the day before. And then on Thanksgiving Day, I like learned this from my sister, because I don't know what it was, but years ago, she had this friend who did all of her cooking the day before Thanksgiving. And I thought, that's so ridiculous. Why wouldn't you want your food fresh? Well, it's amazing because you actually get to like hang out with your family and like enjoy people's space. So it's like, I have that carrot bacon bisque soup, the appetizer that I bring to share. And it's so fun. We just put it in little mugs and you just sip on it. And it's just like your pre-dinner appetizer. And it's like filling, but not too much. And you just put it in a little cup in a mug, that carrot bacon bisque, or just carrot bisque, because I don't eat the meat, for those vegetarians out there. And if you're dairy free also, you can omit the butter and add coconut oil or ghee or whatever is your jam. And so I have the carrot bacon bisque soup, and then we have the pies. So I'm like the big dessert bringer. And then I do that so delicious whipped cream, which I used to like make my own. And I think my sister usually ends up making a dairy whipped cream, which is fine. But that so delicious one is so delicious. And it saves so much time. And I've kind of gotten to this point in my life where I don't have to make everything homemade, and I don't have to feel guilty about it. And it's like, okay that I buy the whipped cream. It's okay. And I'm like, I feel at peace with that. I feel really good with that. I'm like, I don't have to do that. But then the day of Thanksgiving, I get to hang out with my family, and I usually do have to make the mashed potatoes. So that usually does take me about 45 minutes, because it's 9 pounds of potatoes. And if you pre-peel them, which I'm thinking maybe I could just pre-peel them and soak them in water. Would you soak them in vinegar? If you have any ideas, let me know. And just soak them in water, like maybe cut them up and soak them in water the day before, because I don't want my mashed potatoes being gross. Do they reheat well? I guess we do reheat them for the day after. So maybe I could this year. I'm thinking out loud. And those are what I'm usually in charge of. So the pies, carrot bacon bisque, the brudas, yes. And and my husband loves to usually fry a turkey or smoke a turkey. But usually, to be honest with you, we have an overabundance in food that we end up throwing away so much. And my husband just got a Traeger this year, and he's very excited about it, and he's cooking all these meats. And it's so interesting. Like, my husband and I have been struggling really bad, like so bad and it's like hard to share this truth, but I'm going to share it, is that he's been sleeping in the basement, and I actually moved all of his shit down to the basement because it just is what I need right now. Like I moved all of his clothes out of my closet. He has his business desk upstairs. I actually made him move it downstairs. He's like staying in a room downstairs, and it's like really complicated, and I don't know exactly where it's going to lead and what's going to happen. And I kind of want to cry a little bit, but then also I'm like, this is real, and this is me, and ew, this is what you're going to get. You're going to get the real, unedited, raw version of me, and it's fucking hard. I don't know if I can say the F word, but I'm going to say it one time because I think in PG-13 movies you can say the F word one time. It's hard right now. And then I think of him and his trigger and smoking the meat, and like I want him to smoke the meat, and I want him to come if he wants to come. I want him to be a part of our family and be the nice, awesome guy that he can be, but I don't want him to be that shitty guy who he's been being lately, and I don't want to be that shitty woman that I've been being lately. Does that make sense? Do you get stuck in your relationships and these like toxic cycles with each other? That's where we're at. Like we get in this toxic cycle where we'll have a big blowout and both say really mean things. It's this horrible thing that we've told each other that we're not going to do, but we keep doing. And then we ignore each other for like days, weeks, a month at a time. And then one of us will like break the ice, and then we'll just be like, that never happened. But it's just like this like kind of yucky energy that we've been having. And I just feel like I'm at this point where I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. No, no more. No more. But then I just had this talk with my sister, and she's always brutally honest, which I love her. And I also am like, I'm grateful for her. And she's like, really, you have to think of like separating you is not just you. It's your kids. It's uprooting your kids and them having two separate families, two separate holidays, two separate everything. And when I think of that, it makes me want to bawl my eyes out. And then I like look at other people that are doing it, and it's hard, but you like do it and you figure it out. And so it's like a lot on top of the holidays with all the people and all the things. And I'm really grateful because in our holidays, like I've really created this space where I just do what I want to do over the holidays, which is like awesome and empowering. And I'm grateful that my husband is really open to that. Like, that we spend them with my family, and it's maybe selfish, but it feels really good. I have a really supportive sisters. I have two really supportive sisters, and our kids are like siblings. Like they're getting older and they're teenagery, and some of the boys are just, they're great. They're teenagers, and it's different and it's hard, and that's where we are. And so for Thanksgiving, my lovely, are you feeling trapped in that scarcity mindset that maybe there's not going to be enough? Maybe they're going to be around people that you're like gonna feel all those feelings about. Maybe you're not going to be your best self. Or are you going to look for the opportunity, look for the growth? There's this beautiful Deepak Chopra. Maybe it's not Deepak Chopra. I think Deepak Chopra says it a lot, but it's from A Course of Miracles. And it says, in every experience, you can find the grievance or you can find the miracle, which can mean such a plethora of things. So it's like the grievance is like the negative part. Like if you're always focused on the hyper negative, like I'm thinking right now, like I'm really hyper focused on all of my husband's flaws and what I don't like about him and how he's annoying me and how blah, 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 blah. And so that's what I'm getting. It's like, so with that rule of that scarcity mindset versus that prosperity, abundant mindset, what you're putting out into the universe, it's like quantum physics. If you've ever heard of like law of attraction, manifestation, or if you're new to that, oh, there is so much goodies here. And I actually have done an episode on manifestation and the laws of attraction, and also on Yogablisswithshelly on YouTube. I've had like many blogs about that. So if you're interested more, or you can just plug it into your Google or YouTube. I love YouTube. YouTube is like your online university. And I always say like, get rid of the ads and pay the $15, maybe it's $17 a month, because that just like clouds everything. And then you're just being subconsciously programmed by other people's crap. Like commercials drive me crazy. If you don't know this about me, your mind is like this marvelous masterpiece, and be so mindful, aware of what you're putting into it. Just like when it comes to talking about this scarcity feelings versus feeling like abundantly full, if we're always focusing on the negative, like I'm kind of doing with my husband right now, all the gross stuff, like rah, 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 you're going to get more of that. Like, think of those days when you just have a bad day. Like, you hit the red light. Yes, you hit the train. People say this, but I've experienced this. There's no parking spots. Parents are being dicks. Teachers are being rude. Like, you almost get into a car accident. You get into a fight with your spouse. Maybe you get bit by a dog. Maybe you trip and fall and break your toe. I've had those days. Yeah, that's a negative, low vibrational scarcity mindset day. Like, I can see that right now. Like, it's like, whoa, in those moments, I probably couldn't, but in this moment, I can. And then those days when you're feeling abundant and grateful and joyful, like, it does flow more when you're just like open to like, I'm just going to experience today. Like, I'm going to show up and I'm going to look around. Like, I'm going to actually be present. To be abundant is to be present. Like, really look and see, like, look into your eyes when you're washing your hands, like, see that shine, that reflection of light, see your nose, see your teeth. Maybe you're always hyper focused on what you don't like about your face. Like, oh my gosh, I have wrinkles. Like, yeah, I'm 40. I've got some wrinkles, girl. If you don't have wrinkles, yes, I'm 40. I do color my hair red and I have some gray hairs. Like, yes, I have some stretch marks and my lower belly sticks out a little further than I would like. But guess what? I show up and I work out like 5 to 6 days a week. Like, literally, like, it is a habit that I have ingrained. Like, I'm abundant in my health. So I show up for my health and I do that. And so when you're feeling like those days where it's like, it's a beautiful morning, it's a beautiful day, you are attracting all of that into your life. And then that day is like, and it keeps coming and it keeps coming. And then it's like, maybe something will like derail you a little bit. Maybe your kids will be like shitty and say something like, I hate you, mom. And you're like, yeah, I don't care. But on the days where you're having a really bad day and your kids throw you off and they're like, I hate you, mom. You're the worst. And you're like, don't talk to me like that. That's so disrespectful. Being a mom is freaking hard. And it's literally, you think of it's all about like where you're at vibrationally. If you're feeling like in this huge fear state, which it's really easy to do, like that pandemic, like we are winding out of it and like it's like a fresh morning, but there's so many people still that you see that are still guarded with masks and still being very afraid. And if that's where you are, that's okay to be there. Also, though, there is a beautiful world in connecting with people. Like when I see someone hiding behind a mask, I want to be like, can I see your beautiful face and your smile? Like if you need to stand over there, that's fine. Like I need to see you. Like we need to see this to interact with. We need to be more open to being like okay to experience, like being okay to be abundant in the way that we're thinking, abundant in the way that we're feeling. And for those days when you just wake up and you're like, God, it's such a shitty day. Like last week I had the tummy bug and I fell off for 3 days. Like I did not have the puking tummy bug. I had the number 2s, like the pooping tummy bug that was like awful stomach cramps and awful gas. Like it was like having labor pains to make a fart, which sounds gross, but like it sucked. And then I got this horrible low vibrational headache and my husband and I were in this like shit. And I'm like, wow. And one of the days in the afternoon, it was like 1 o'clock. I was like, I have to go to bed. Like I have nothing left. Like if I don't go to bed, I might crawl under a rock and die right now. Like I have to. And luckily my daughter was at homeschool that day. She does homeschool twice a week. And then she just does 3 half days in the in-person school. And I was like, Junie, I am not feeling well. Like, and I went to bed and I slept. And usually I am like a shamer. I will shame the poop out of myself for sleeping, for relaxing, for resting. I'm like, you have to be going, Shelly. You have to be doing something. You better be making a class. You better be making a course. You better be blah, 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 reading the book. You better be whatever you're not doing. You better be ashamed of that. And I was like, no, it's okay, Shelly. Like you're not feeling well. Like go to bed. And I slept and I actually put on crystal singing bowls. I found this channel on YouTube of this lovely gentleman and he has all different crystal singing bowls. And if you didn't know this about singing bowls, it's so amazing. 15 minutes of listening to a crystal singing bowl is equivalent to 4 hours of rest. I'll say that one more time. 15 minutes, is that right? 1, 5, for you, or is it the opposite? 1-5. Is that right? I don't know which one. My brain's like, I'm not teaching yoga right now. 15 minutes. That is 4 hours of rest and relaxation. So when you're feeling crappy and if all you have is 15 minutes, turn on those frequencies. And even if you just are laying there, if you can close your eyes, you'll definitely get more of that. If you can doze off for a few minutes, it's okay. And it's okay that sometimes your bodies get sick. It's okay that to know and trust that our bodies are always healing. Like, it's easy when you're sick to feel like, I'm never going to get better. This is the worst. Like, I had this chronic headache for 3 solid days, and I don't like to take ibuprofen. Like, it rips up my stomach and it's just not good for you. So I don't like to take it. Like, I took it a lot when I was a kid. I had lots of headaches. I gave it to my daughter a lot when she was having a lot of anxiety in school. I was giving it to her like every day. I was giving her one in the morning and one at lunchtime. I'm not kidding you. To get her through school because she was experiencing such anxiety and it was manifesting into these emotional headaches. It was horrible. And I forgive myself. And now I'm like, okay. So I mantra to myself to get through that, those shitty days. To heal pain is to feel pain. And you have to feel this pain to heal this pain. Because I feel like we're so trained that we don't need to feel pain, that you just take a pill. When you just take that pill, maybe if it's a supplement, that's really helpful. Like, I've been really working hard at making my brain healthier, my heart healthier, and I don't eat meat, so I do omegas. I have an omega-3 that's for your brain and your heart health, and it's really good ingredients, organic ingredients. Like, read your ingredients and make sure that you're putting good stuff into your body that's going to help you and not hinder you. And then I've been taking this D3. It's a D3. It's this other vitamin that's really helpful for women because a lot of us women are really lacking that D3, and especially if you're a vegetarian, you're not getting all that animal protein. So, but I found myself for like weeks not taking that, and I give it to my kids every day, and I'm like, take your omegas, kids. And I'm like, okay, so every day I'm like, I made a vow to myself. I put them on my counters to take my omegas and my D3s, and I'm like, B3s, B is in boy. Is that B? I don't know why on this camera it gets me messed up. B3, not D3. Vitamin D is what comes from the sun. I'll go outside and get some sun today. I'm feeling a little wacky. How are you feeling today? How are you feeling about your holidays? How are you feeling about your plans? How are you feeling about the food that you're making? Have you made your plans yet? So I know for you planners that you're all up on your list, and you probably maybe even have your shopping done, and maybe you're even started with your Christmas shopping. I have been in such a funk with my husband that I set up my Christmas decorations, but for Christmas gifts, my kids are like, when are you shopping for Christmas gifts, Mom? Blah, 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 blah. Jack's like, Mom, I want that bow and arrow. Mom, when did you do my shopping yet? I'm like, Jack, lay off, pal. So for all of you planners, if you're planned, awesome. Get yourself in line. For you control freaks, recovering control freak. I don't know if I need to say I'm a recovering control freak because I don't know if being in control is like a bad thing. I don't know. I'm not quite convinced. I know people are like, ugh, like my husband gets mad at me because I control things. I'm like, what good mom isn't a control freak? Or what good business owner isn't in control of their business? You say that to people when they call you a control freak. You're like, control what you can, because there's a lot in life that we can't control out there. So get in your list making and your organization. If you're having family over, like, I know I am so freaking grateful that I'm at the space in my life where once a month we have professional cleaners come over for 3 hours and they just clean the out of my house. And I feel like, oh, but before that, I spent probably 2 solid hours cleaning and tidying, organizing, getting laundry done, making the beds. And because I don't have this weird thing about people making my beds. I used to have these one cleaners who they smoked cigarettes and then their knees were on my beds, and it grossed me out. So I make my own beds. I like to do that. It's my one thing. I don't like shoes in my house. It's another one of my things. I think on the bottom of your feet is so disgusting. And like when my babies were small, climbing around, like licking the floors, no shoes in my house. That's another thing I control. So getting your house in order, getting your house clean. If you can't afford the cleaner, then really like dive into like, okay, I'm going to focus on cleaning the bathroom, because my cleaners are amazing and they clean my bathrooms so fast and so much better than I ever do. And I feel like they have more enthusiasm and zest, and I'm like, oh, and they just dust all the things. So be like, okay, I'm going to clean the bathrooms today, because T minus is today, Tuesday. Thanksgiving is next Thursday. I hope I have this episode out today. It might be tomorrow. So if this is even going out on Wednesday, that it's like you have a week and a day. If you're having people come over, it's like, okay, do the bath. I always think like, you don't ever want to have a gross toilet. Like, I don't want to have a poopy pee boy toilet. Like if you have boys, I have 2 boys and a husband and they pee all over. Like I do not like gross toilets. Like if there's poop in my toilet, I do a soap pump and I clean it out. That's like one of my other things. Like I'm like, I do not want to have a poopy toilet. Like I want to feel fresh and clean in my house and I don't want to feel disgusting. So clean your bathrooms and take it. It's like maybe on the weekend you're like, okay, I'm going to take 4 hours and I'm going to clean the poop out of one bathroom and the poop out the other. Maybe that's all you have time for. And then maybe on Sunday you're like, I'm going to deep clean the laundry room. No, not the laundry room, living room. I'm going to like pick up and organize. And when I say pick up and organize, I mean also go through and be like, okay, do I need this? Is this serving me? Is this trash? Oh my gosh, why is there socks underneath of the couch? Why is there popcorn chunks and old Legos and hair underneath of my recliner chair? That's gross. Like clean that business up, maybe vacuum your couches, organize, throw away stuff. And when I say this, I mean like pick up your stuff and put it away. Don't just like pick it up and move it to another spot because you're just creating all this clutter. And it's so cool because when you start doing this, like it just feels better and you create all this like mental, energetic, spiritual energy where you're like, universe, I am open, I am clear and organized, and I'm ready to take on new expensive ideas. Okay. So Thanksgiving's coming around, tidy up, do the areas where you're like, okay, this matters the most. Like if you have like an unfinished basement and no one's going to be down there and you're like, that's fine. If you need to just close the door, that's fine. Just work your way towards keeping it clean and organized where it's going to feel good and you'll feel proud of yourself because you know when someone comes over and you just feel good about them being there versus if someone comes over and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for the kitchen. I'm so sorry. Oh, that's okay. Like that sucks when that happens. But if you don't want that to happen, then just make a plan. So you could be like, I am not going to let that happen. And I'm going to feel good about my space and maybe freshening up the sheets in your guest bedroom if you can swap them out or wash them if people are staying over, or if you're doing blow up mattresses, make sure you have like the blankets that you need and everything is set up for you. You have all of the food. I think the food is the biggest thing too. Like get all of your food shopping done. I'm like thinking I need to do all of my food shopping now because I live in Estes Park and sometimes we run out of stuff and we just don't have it. But I can always guarantee that I go down to the valley to my sister's and there's always going to be what I need down there. So it's okay. So even if you don't have it, there's that lovely Amazon. I know we don't have Whole Foods up here, but my sisters do that Whole Foods on Amazon and you can like order your groceries in like a snap. Like it's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So it's like, if there's something that you're like, oh, I can't find this, calm it down, realign. You're like, you're going to find your magic cranberries. Like put the energy out. Are you being scarcity thinking that I can't get these cranberries? Or you're like, I'm going to have these cranberries. Everyone's going to love them. I'm going to put lemon or orange zest and blah, 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 all the yummy honeys and fall flavors. It's going to happen. So choose, my lovely, choose to have that abundant mindset when it comes to your holidays and really taking it one thing at a time and not letting that overwhelm frenzy of the holidays take you over. Because I know once Thanksgiving hits, it's like, Christmas. And if you haven't seen already, watch A Bad Mom's Christmas. It's like hilarious and so relatable, like that moms are supposed to have everything perfect and put together and like do all the things and make it this magical thing. And it's like, how can we take the holidays back? We can take them back by being present and being abundant and excited about the holidays instead of feeling anxiety ridden, because I used to get so anxious every holiday. I'm not even kidding you. And I'd get into fights with my kids and my husband because I'd be like, everything's going to be ruined. And I was thinking so scarcity. And about 3 years ago, I made the shift of like, I'm going to start enjoying my holidays. I'm going to start being present with my family and like pre-planning things out. So when you pre-plan, it sets you up for success, my lovely. So you do this. You show up for your freaking Thanksgiving holiday and you be amazing light. And if that anxiety is creeping in because you're like, I'm not going to be able to clean my bathroom, then you freaking ask your husband, your kids, you ask the neighbor, Ask someone you can trade something with. If you're like, hey, I can give you a haircut if you come and clean my toilet. What can you trade? I love bartering. I love that method of bartering. Like, if the world ever resorted to bartering, I'd be like, I've got this. Like, people were like freaking out, and still some people are freaking out about like money losing its value. I'm like, I am not afraid of that. Like, I have so many skills to share. Like, I know that I could just barter my way through. So how can you barter your way through it and just feel that more abundant feeling? And notice when you're not. And if you wake up and it's Thanksgiving morning and you're like, I have so much to do, blah, 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 blah. Slow it down, make your list and be like, okay, I chose not to make my food yesterday, but today I'm going to make my pumpkin pie first because that takes the longest. I'm going to make my mashed potatoes. But wait, you're going to first put your turkey in the oven. My sister makes the turkey. My sister Jenny makes the turkey and green bean casserole. No, Amy makes the green bean casserole and the cranberries and homemade rolls. Fantastic homemade rolls. They are grain, but delicious. Jenny does the turkey and always like some broccoli rice casserole and delicious whatever else she does. But yes, you want to get that turkey in the oven and you can do it. And even if you don't eat turkey, like I don't eat turkey, but other people get really excited about it. It's really exciting. But I love you, and really just reach for the good and the abundance and be that calm, cool, collected. It was funny, from the dog whisperer, my daughter and I were watching him, and he says, when you're training your dog, which I feel like we all can be in our life, says calm, confident, and in control. So how can you today be calm, confident? Confidence too, sometimes it just comes from that shift in that sternum. Can you see this here? Like if you're sitting like this, like confidence comes from your body language. So how can you show that you're like, I'm confident and in control? In control means you're not just like flipping off the handles. You're like, I've got this. I'm in control. Calm, confident, and in control. That's you, girl. You've got this day. You've got this week. You've got this month. And no matter what you're experiencing, you're not alone. Like, we are all having struggles. There's 7 billion people of us. Can you imagine that many people? That's so insane on this planet. And there are thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people experiencing what you are experiencing, and you're not alone, and you don't have to do it alone. Reach out, ask for help when you need help, and do things for yourself. Treat yourself. And I'm very excited because Yoga Bliss with Shelly, I have a lovely fall yoga class. Take that class. It's beautiful. And there's this awesome opportunity for a pose of gratitude, because it's this time of year to be grateful. Gratitude is this high frequency, high abundance feeling. And when you're feeling that scarcity, you're not being grateful. So I'm feeling scared. Open and soften and say, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful for this opportunity and this experience. I love you. I'm grateful for you. Please share this episode with a woman that you feel like needs this, or even a man. Share this with someone and let it spider web out and do something for you. Make time for you. You can check out so many free classes. I'm really excited. Like, I even made these beautiful classes for yoga before a run, stretches before a run, a warm up, and a cool down. And those are really great short classes. And even if you're not going for a run, they just feel good to be like, ooh, open my hips, get loose in my legs. I love you. I'm grateful for you. And I will be back here hanging out with you next week. I love you, gorgeous.